I'd say the GP is also, as you mentioned, a targeted ban, and then we're just starting to go with kind of power pick bans in the Qiyana and the Pantheon. I like how quick they are going, though, showing good prep.
Yep, very aware of where they want to go. Syndra is the final ban.
Man, are we going to keep seeing bot lane Syndra bans?
I think so. I think we'll just see Syndra bans because she can be flexed. I agree that she's mostly played in bot lane now, but I just think you have to get her out of the draft pool if you don't want to pick her up early on. The Gnar locked in for Evi, his most played this split. Kennen and Xayah straight away on the side of Splyce.
Yeah, I mean, if Splyce is going to spend the time to scout and ban Ceros' Heimerdinger, letting the Gnar through is actually a big no-no against DetonatioN FocusMe. 11-0 in the regular season, summer split, and playoffs for Evi on that champion.
It is one of Chachi's most played as well, so maybe he thinks he understands the champion well enough just to lock down Evi. There's the Thresh, there's the Ekko jungle. Does mean the Rakan goes over to Splyce if they want it to team up in that lovers duo bot lane.
Would they pull out the Xayah with Rakan open? It was on Vedius's picks to watch, but maybe they watched that, they considered it, and they said, wait a minute, we can still get this duo.
But there were like dissenting opinions about that, because the Freak show, where Freak talks about the patch, he was like, I don't really think we'll see these mages in the bottom lane. So there's a little bit of disagreement amongst some of our analysts as to whether that Xayah will be picked. The Rakan is locked in the end. I think it makes the most sense for Norskeren. He's pretty comfortable on that champion. Would like him to be on something tankier, having seen him make a few mistakes in the LEC. But the Rakan works well in the laning phase down towards that bottom lane. Now into the second ban phase. Cassiopeia removed, Elise taken away by DetonatioN FocusMe. The Kai'Sa taken away. We'll see where DFM go for their final ban.
Yeah, both the Cassiopeia and the Syndra could be considered bot lane mage picks. Maybe they're working on some new intel about Yutapon, but he hasn't actually played mages in the bottom lane in the summer split, even though that's part of a heavy part of Splyce's bot focus.
I mean, looking at a lot of the sort of strong picks we saw in 9-16, things like the Gragas, the Silas, Sejuani, all of those have kind of fallen out of the meta in terms of jungle, and I'm wondering where now Splyce will go, because the Elise and the Olaf were banned, which are two strong picks for Xerxe, but he was very well known for his Hecarim originally.
Clearly the Hecarim, that's absolutely what you should go with. I'm hoping to continue to be surprised by these picks. It is something he has experience with. It is also not something he has played in the summer split, so another one of those new-ish picks being thrown back into his roster. I
was actually recently watching a lot of the best plays from Worlds in 2018, and I forgot how dominant Licorice was on his Hecarim top.
Right.
Like, the fact that it was banned out against him so often. It's not going to be top lane here, but I just thought it was a nice cool callback. We haven't seen too much Hecarim this year for it to come back around at the World stage. Now, Lucian locked in for DetonatioN FocusMe and Nocturne on the other side of Steel.
So they're flexing Ekko, probably.
Yes.
Unless they really wanted to go spicy.
Okay, so I know the LGL likes the fact that Vedius always praises Japan. If they play Nocturne mid in their first game on the world stage in 2019, I'm going to be so sad.
It's very likely a Nocturne jungle. It is something Steel played during the summer split, and it will be a nice combo with a flank champion like Ekko, or if Gnar wants to end up getting flanks in the later game team fights.
Yeah, that combo and the skirmish potential coming out from DetonatioN FocusMe will be devastating. It's Nocturne mid! It's Nocturne mid!
They have 2 seconds to swap back.
Get Vedius on here!
They're doing it!
Nocturne mid!
That's how you do it, DFM.
Can we just get a camera on Ceros? Can we get a camera on Ceros to make sure it's not another Vedius sort of Marvel Cinematic Universe thing going on?
I mean, he looks pretty calm. He is meticulous about his setup. He's the guy who notoriously comes out with tape measures, make sure everything is just as it should be, because you need to cue the wave as Nocturne mid. Got to be exactly the right angle down the middle of the lane, otherwise you might miss it left or right.
Okay, so we're going to learn about this as we go along, I feel, Jatt. The Nocturne mid into the Ryze. A lot of roam potential from the side of DetonatioN FocusMe. You can get into those skirmishes, as you said, with the Paranoia. Ekko has a lot of mobility as well. But then you have things like the Realm Warp, you have the Onslaught of Shadows, you have Kennen coming in from the... Like, both these teams actually have great flanking skirmish fights if they can find them up.
They absolutely do, and that team fight will come in faster from the Nocturne mid because of his ability to impact side lanes. And, oh man, it's also up against the slightly reworked Ryze in the fact that he has a weaker early game shove than previously and then has AoE later. So I actually don't think Humanoid will be able to punish this Nocturne, which could be why they've decided to flex the Nocturne into the spot, because I think Ceros will actually farm up fairly safely for most of this laning phase. Additionally, the way Ryze needs to get his root is he needs to prime it with Spell Flux. He has to cast E on you and then cast W on you. If you have your spell shield,
you could dodge one of them
he's
at
just
least.
never going to root you if you're saving it.
Yep, Ceros with the next level drafting strategy in towards that mid lane. He's running lethal tempo as you'd expect on a skirmish heavy Nocturne, and then the Ignite.
VODS has a guide about mid lane Nocturne. I mean, everyone watches on their PC. Go on the second tab, type in VODS mid Nocturne guide. There's probably like 7 of them. He's probably made it multiple times.
The picture is something of nightmares with his face on Nocturne's face.
Oh my goodness.
Not something I want to look at. But let's have a look away from the mid lane. Ekko jungle into Hecarim jungle. Not a matchup we see too commonly. We knew Ekko jungle would make a resurgence on 9/19, but Hecarim, not something I expected, I'll be honest.
Yeah, not too common. He's gone with the Ghost as well, and Conqueror, which is actually very strong on Hecarim. When the new Conqueror rune was kind of first introduced, you saw a lot of Hecarim top. I know, especially in North American solo queue, it showed a huge amount of power. It's not that strong early, so if we wanted to see Steel come in with some early ganks, that is a potential. Looking actually more towards that bot lane with the Thresh gank assist, but... Okay, Ceros is just going for ward. For a second, I thought he was going to try and steal Raptors. But no, just a normal jungle clear for both the Hecarim and the Ekko.
It's just such a change for Ceros as well, known mostly for his sort of utility mages, his ability to help out teams, zone control in team fights. For him to be playing an aggressive champion that really needs to snowball early on is not what I was expecting. That used to be Ramune's role in the team.
Yeah. When you talk about utility, what if you made the entire enemy team blind for 6 seconds?
That is true.
It's got everything. How else would VODS make it to Diamond?
Hey.
Okay, that was my last one.
I agree with you, but at some point I got to defend my homeboy, you know, Jatt?
He'd be master with anything else, clearly.
Okay, let's have a look at how some of these lanes are going. A slight CS lead for Xayah in the top lane, but the wave is pushing in towards Evi. It's ranged into range, which is not a matchup you too commonly see in the top lane, so expect that to be pretty even. Evi has gone for the shield as opposed to the Dawn's Blade from Xayah.
Yeah, I mean, we did speak about, even though Evi is 11-0 on the Gnar, it's Vizicsacsi's second most played, so he should on the matchup. And I think Kennen, if you talk to a lot of top laners, this matchup is Kennen favored, even if Gnar can possibly have good games. So Vizicsacsi able to shove in Evi in the early game. Expect that to happen a fair bit, and we'll see if he can press his advantage.
Let's see if that's the case. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, both AD carries or bot laners have gone for heal over to teleport. So more of a combat summoner-focused lane. And that's a little bit surprising. I expect Kobbe to go towards the teleport and just be able to push out the lane, come back, but I guess into something that can be as aggressive as a Thresh Lucian.
Yeah, I do wonder what the trend is going to be, because we saw through so much of the summer split across regions that teleports seemed to be the go-to, and it was weird if you went with heal. I wonder if it's something about like first week of play and not wanting to get all in. Speaking of which, this is really good gank timing from Xerxe.
Hook onto Norskeren though, he's almost dead. Heals up with the Guardian gang, going to take a lot of damage here. Doesn't have the flash, he's down. First blood to Splyce.
Oh, such a good bait by Splyce, and really just the timing to go in right there, right as the hook lands. So DFM thought they're making a good play. It absolutely would have been in the 2v2, but bot lane is definitely not a 2v2 lane when you consider these things.
If DFM have done their research as well, they know Norskeren can sometimes push too far like this. So.
Yeah. Also, the wave was just about to push away from DFM, so they were going to be a little bit unsafe after they cleared that. Great start for Splyce.
But the expectation is for DFM, although they've lost out a little bit down there. With Xerxe getting the kill, it doesn't affect the lane too much. There's still only flashes available for Kobbe and Norskeren. Yutapon has his. When we get towards level 6 here for DFM, though, that's where they can really start to make plays. Evi going to try and jump away. The stun, almost going to connect it from Xayah. He flashes forward. There's the stun, and Evi locked up underneath this tower. Xerxe will cull him. Another kill across the Splyce.
I'm really surprised Evi didn't get the double hop off of Xayah when he was trying to avoid that gank, but that is just another quality pre-6 gank from the Hecarim. Whenever that happens on Conqueror Hecarim, you can really snowball hard on this pick. Getting your warrior early, especially if he decides to go towards something like Trinity Force, incredibly powerful. So a amazing start for Xerxe.
And I think you're seeing a demonstration of what we talked about before pick and ban, with Splyce actually being a very strong early game team, just not as strong as G2 and Fnatic. They tend to take their games to later on, but here you can see Xerxe is very good at reading the map and knowing when he can gank and where he can gank, and Splyce are actually very good at getting these early game leads.
Yeah, and sometimes the criticism isn't that they can't get an early game lead, it's that they don't explode the lead before 20 minutes. So will they hold this lead at 1,500, or will they make it 3, 4.5, 6 and really close out the game early? Or Nocturne is level 6 right now and he's sitting in a brush. You never know where he's going to go.
See, at the moment, DFM have vision control down towards the bottom side jungle. You can see Splyce's blue buff is actually lit up with wards right now. Chachi trading here onto Evi, who's forced to hop away. And we talked about how little jungle attention he gets. We haven't seen Steel up here at all this game, but Evi is not as dominant in lane as he was against some of his LJL counterparts.
They might be trying to get the kill onto Hecarim here.
Parallel convergence.
He might be able to solo kill him, actually.
I think he just gets him. The smite comes down. One more auto should be enough. Xerxe just about able to survive, and here comes the paranoia! And Ceros jumps underneath the tower. The damage coming back for him, and Splyce is not enough. The hook's still going to land onto Norskeren, who has to flash away. Here's Humanoid from the backside of the fight. Ceros rooted up, locked down, and the kill comes in for Kobbe. Yutapon unable to join his team, and Humanoid can still chase. Realm warp forward. Splyce going to take it. 2 members strong. The play from Gang trying to push them away, and here comes Yutapon, but the knockup's not quite going to connect. Gang goes down. Humanoid still chasing. Yutapon flashing forward. The damage from Splyce is huge here, and Yutapon has to run away. Kobbe landing the feathers one after one after one, and the blade caller rips them back through Yutapon.
Such slim margins deciding that fight. The smallest of details can sometimes have the largest of effects, and the start of this fight was actually the smite onto Grump. If Xerxe doesn't put this smite off, he dies before he retreats to the turret, which means none of these following events happen. You don't see the Nocturne ult into the turret and flash out. You don't see Yutapon actually stuck behind the turret on Lucian off on the bottom right of your screen, unable to follow through. And you don't see Humanoid following through to pick up these kills. And then the continual opting in of the fight by Splyce to think that, yes, they can outplay this 3v3. And very close fights down the stretch right here as Yutapon tries to flash, but Humanoid saved his flash until the very end.
Minuscule margins really deciding this fight in the end. Steel not being level 6. If he had been there, he would have been able just to jump back, get out of that fight. And now a 1,500 gold lead for Splyce early on 2-0-2 on Kobbe. One of the key carries for this team is that Xayah is Kobbe. In fact, the only player that's returned from the 2016 World Squad that Splyce sent in their debut year.
Yeah, that is going to be difficult for DFM to deal with, especially if he's able to get that Essence Reaver in early. The lane priority definitely in their favor, even though they were the ones that were kind of getting dove earlier. It's getting those kills with the help of the team that is allowing them to potentially get a big lead.
And it's part of having this Nocturne mid that the enemy team knows you're going to look for plays when you get towards that level 6. Like, Splyce knew something like that was going to happen. Humanoid was already roaming down towards the bottom side to try and match Ceros, and Ceros came out of it okay. You know, 1-1-1 as a Tiamat now, building up towards his next item. Humanoid is in an okay position as well, but overall that mid lane's pretty even. It's the bot lane and the top lane really where Splyce are getting these massive leads, and of course a little bit in the jungle.
I actually think in this context, like, Ceros is proving Nocturne mid to be a good and viable pick.
Don't say that!
He is.
Vedius will lose Elo. The paranoia coming out in the mid lane as the parallel convergence connects as well. And just as you say it, Jatt, you were proven correct. Nocturne mid, everyone.
I mean, especially against Ryze. Like, Ryze could not shove him out. You will not deny him farm. He's going to be able to get a large amount of AD. He's going to be able to ult frequently into side lanes. Like, it is powerful there. If the reason DFM is losing is because of quality ganks in top and bot from Splyce, and the standard picks actually not coming through the way you would expect them to by DFM.
Nocturne mid, strong situationally. Splyce starting up the Cloud Drake here, but DFM able to force them away. So Humanoid, of course, only just respawning means that he wouldn't be anywhere near that. DetonatioN, FocusMe. Actually playing this early game very effectively. There's a couple of mistakes, obviously, but keeping within about 1,000 gold from Splyce after Xerxe got 2 early kills is very impressive from the Japanese team. Yeah,
it really is. Only a 1,000 gold lead, and you can argue that the Cloud Drake negates that in the grand scheme of things. They have Steel's Jungle Ekko off to a decent start. Getting the Runic Echoes upgrade on Jungle Ekko really slingshots that champion ahead. It actually makes his clear speed one of the fastest in the game, and then also with the reduced cooldown on the R. We're going to see more pro Ekko to see this, but I wouldn't be too surprised past level 11 if sometimes Ekko actually just ults back to the map because the cooldown in his R starts getting so low, much like you used to see the Xayah of 3 years ago, just ult to continually keep up map tempo. It can be a very powerful pick in those ways.
Farm alarm, I believe is what we called it at the time when you just ult it back towards one of your tunnels. Now, Humanoid and Xerxe looking to get some vision in here, maybe going down towards bottom side. I do want to bring a little bit of attention to top as there's a 20 CS lead for Xayah.
Yeah.
He's been able to force out Evi pretty effectively. Kobbe and Norskeren getting damage down on towards these plates. Almost 3 entire plates there, which will just skyrocket this lead a tad. Skyrocket's probably not the word to use there. Accelerate this lead a tad. Norskeren trying to jump away, but the box isn't quite in the right place. Gang unable to find the connection, and with the Ignite ticking away at Norskeren, here comes Xerxe down towards the bottom lane. Humanoid on his way as well.
And Ceros doesn't have ultimate yet on Nocturne, so a lot of pressure can be applied by the rest of Splyce. In a few seconds, it's up. Now it is. Will we see a fight?
Ceros there, Xerxe just around the corner. Paolo convergence coming out, the onslaught of shadows. The root's going to connect onto Ceros, who pops Paranoia straight away. Norskeren gets the double knockup though, and it's 3v2 in favor of Splyce. They take down one. The jump back from Steel with the chrono bait will get him to safety, but Splyce were able to react to the play coming out from DFM. Now, Xayah locked up with the wallop. Evi still has the Gnar here. Xayah into the wall. Xayah's just being very greedy here. The slicing Maelstrom comes out, but Evi can still chase it and has the flash. Xayah with a great proto belt will get him to safety, but as you said, unbeaten on the Gnar in the top lane. Evi is showing his worth for DetonatioN FocusMe.
Yeah, I gotta give a lot of credit to Evi after dying early while burning his flash. Usually that's just the disaster scenario for a top laner, but he's really fought back in this lane in a lot of ways. But laning phase is mostly over as we're getting closer to 14 minutes, and it looks like Kobbe and Norskeren are gonna be coming up here.
Yeah, Evi was trying to
they might get another kill on him.
Evi was trying to keep Xayah around. Xayah still has the teleport. Of course, no ult on him. Flash available for Evi. If he wants to jump away, he'll just use the little hop. Steel goes in, tries to steal away the red from Xerxe, but Xerxe was having none of that. He'll secure his own buff for the time being. And now, as you say, taking 3 plates in the bottom lane, Splyce say, okay, well, the Rift Herald's up on the top side. We can take that. There's no dragon for us to fight down towards that bottom side.
Yeah, and this could be the point in the game where it feels like Splyce just kind of freezes their gold lead. I can see Xerxe just wanting to full clear his jungle as much as possible. I can see Kobbe wanting to just continue to farm up more and more, but they are going to the Rift Herald, which does show good proactive play.
Yeah, taking the Rift Herald will be able to open up just one of those towers for them, or at least a couple of plates, as you said last game. 2 plates tends to be free, and then maybe a little bit more after that. With Splyce taking it, you expect them to go up towards the top side. And I want to come back towards that snowballing of the gold lead discussion, because it's actually very hard for Splyce generally to accelerate their gold lead when they're winning. They get towards around the 15-20 minute mark, and they only get like 200-300 gold every 5 minutes, where when you look at DFM, when they're winning, they're actually really able to snowball a lead between the 15 and 25 minute mark.
Yeah, and the normal is closer to where DFM is when compared to what Splyce has, if we're trying to give some aid to interpreting these stats. But also, looking at the overall gold in this game, it does look like Splyce is going to approach 50 minutes at closer to a 3,000 gold lead, which is actually quite large at this point in the game. But here comes that Nocturne.
Paranoia. Nocturne's coming to get you as he jumps in. Ceros taken low, though, trying to get on towards the backline. Kobbe with the Featherstorm was able to survive. Ceros so low, the Blade Caller will rip back through him. And here comes the onslaught of shadows. Steel has to flash away. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, the box came down, but Gang has fallen. The damage coming out from Xayah is humongous. Let's go down towards bot. Yutapon able to get taken down there by Humanoid as well. And Splyce find 3 kills and don't lose a man.
Wow, so pre-15 minutes, Splyce ends up breaking this game wide open. And it does go to show how hard it is to get on top of a good Xayah. Really, I think if DFM wants the Nocturne pick to succeed, they have to find some way of getting the Xayah R out before Nocturne jumps in. Because as we see right there, if he goes in and Xayah ults, he really just ends up not doing anything. It allows the Rakan to line up his CC. Just watch what ends up happening here. What needs to happen for DFM is Steel needs to get the R with his W, and then Ceros needs to wait until the Xayah is landed again. Otherwise, he just gets CC locked. Xayah comes down, kills him.
The Rakan there to act as a bouncer as well makes it so difficult. Even Xerxe could have jumped across the wall with the onslaught of shadows to add some more CC if the Xayah had been caught out.
But then we're going to see what happened off screen. This is actually a double kill because they were just trying to pressure turret, And thanks to the roam from Humanoid after Vizicsacsi gets them so low, DFM feels like they have no choice but to kind of all in. Humanoid gets one root, lines it up for Xayah. Oh, Yutapon greeds on top of it and falls as well. That's the press after you're already down in the game trying to find some way back, and you end up just falling even further behind.
And although DetonatioN FocusMe were able to keep relatively even in terms of turret plates, they are 6,000 gold behind. 9 kills, 3 down. The Ocean Dragon going over to Splyce after DFM got a cloud earlier on, but you can start to see, yes, you can spell shield one part of the combo coming out from Humanoid, but he really doesn't matter. It really doesn't care. He just machine guns out those overloads and chunks out Ceros in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Evi trying to get something going, but really, now it's on Splyce. You just kind of execute the steps towards victory. Rotate their 3-0-2 Xayah towards the mid lane. Keep their Ryze with an upgraded Ceros in the side lane, and just keep getting all these outer turrets down.
And that's something Splyce have traditionally been very good at, is if they know the playbook, if they know the plays, they're very good at going, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Where they struggle is when someone throws a wrench in the works, when someone picks a Nocturne mid and gets ahead, those sorts of things. But usually, if they are in a winning position and they know exactly what their next steps are, they are pretty good at closing out the game. It might be slower than most people would like, but they will do it in the end.
Yeah, and slower doesn't always mean worse.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can mean worse, but this will be a point we end up touching on throughout the World Championship for sure. But really, to me, closing out a game isn't about time. It's about level of risk and certainty of victory. So if you are slow and that allows the other team to hit item breakpoints and makes it more risky, that's bad slow. But if you're going slow because you're not taking risk while still maintaining a certainty of victory, that's completely fine.
I think it's a debate that's sort of raged in the League of Legends world for a while, because coming into 2018, LCK was the most methodical region. You know, everyone wanted to emulate the perfect macro. No kills, nothing, just take all the towers and take the nexus. You don't actually need to get kills to win the game. And then in 2018 Worlds, we started to see this explosion of heavy skirmish, LPL style. Let's get as many fights as possible. And I now think we've hit a healthy balance where we respect, you know, some of the LCK teams who've added a little bit of skirmishing into their style, but they can also look for fights like this. Now, meanwhile, in the mid lane, Kobbe just on a rampage. The hook wasn't enough. Gang's gonna fall as well, and as you said, it's just Splyce doing it by the numbers here. Xerxe was on the flank, Evi unable to find any sort of connection. And it's too easy for Splyce right now. 7,000 gold ahead, 11 kills to 3 up. They've already broken the tier 2 in the bottom lane. They're looking towards tier 2 mid and the tier 2 top. Evi jumping in, caught out in the slicing mouse jump, and he went just a little bit too deep here. He's going to go into mini just before he falls. It's another kill over to Splyce.
Yeah, this one is looking like it's going to be fast for Splyce on the total spectrum of how you close out games, because that gold lead has just gone to 9,000, and we've also seen a reason it would be fast is actually not necessarily because Splyce is making it fast, but because DFM is making it fast. Their options to try and win this game is to try and get kills and go in to come back in the game, but they keep trying to engage onto this very fed Xayah. This time, actually, it was even worse because they tried to engage onto Norskeren rather than Xayah and just got completely shredded.
Steel not actually even having ultimate, I believe, when he fell there, just going in for the fight underneath a tower. And then meanwhile in the top lane, Evi overextends just a little bit. Like, we've seen some moments of brilliance from him on this Gnar, but when you have a 4-and-1 Hecarim rampaging in from the side, it's no longer a 1v1 that you're fighting. You're fighting against all the members of Splyce. We do just have a brief pause coming in. I'll find out what's going on with that as soon as possible. But 18 minutes in, this game is all done but the Nexus falling, you have to feel.
Apparently it's a keyboard issue that Splyce has paused for, so hopefully they can resolve that fairly quickly. And yeah, looking at that, 12 kills to 3, 5 turrets to 1, 8,000 gold lead for Splyce. Actually saw a Righteous Glory picked up by Humanoid's Ryze, which I think is cool. I think even in situations where you're not against Nocturne mid for the extra armor, it can be good to try and chase down kills in the side lane. But to continue the conversation we're having, because I actually really like this topic of like how you were supposed to play League of Legends. And I know in the LEC we've had tons of talk about how G2 have revolutionized the way you think about it, and I think some of the things they've done with bringing mages more truly into the bot lane and flexing picks stronger is innovative, and a lot of people have replicated it. But I want to have more of a discussion around how you assess risk and how you create fights in League of Legends. Because the thing that to me happened in 2018 is vision was reduced, so the ability to make a decision with full knowledge was removed or at least made a lot harder.
Yeah.
So the true skill test was making educated guesses as well as possible and then executing in variant situations. So I think there's still a world to make an educated guess and ward against the people that were going to be invading you. And I think we actually don't see as much of that as we should because people have so hardly corrected for the lack of vision.
I can definitely agree with that. I remember, playing in Season 2 when I was a support main and my entire job was to buy 14 wards, place them all over the map, and be like, well, my job's done now. I have 2 gold items.
Yeah, we're just seeing some replays right now of how Splyce got to this 8,000 gold lead point. Close team fight, especially right here, where really just the smite on the Gromp keeps Hecarim alive long enough to create this incredibly chaotic fight where Ceros ends up falling, Kobbe ends up picking up a number of kills in this engagement. And Humanoid's Ryze, even though just his champion kit can't do great against Nocturne mid, he's been doing a good job to roam around and make things happen.
Yeah, I think a big part of this fight as well was Yutapon not being able to be there until right at the end because they were past the tower. He couldn't couldn't go that far forward with DFM, and it meant Splyce were able just to get that little bit of a lead out of that. And then, as you say, we see DFM just going for fights under their tower in what's basically a 2v3 situation, not really respecting the damage coming out from Splyce. And then Evi gets chased off towards the side and ends up going down, trying to beat out Vizicsacsi. Looks like Xerxe's just getting his keyboard settled there, as we say.
I heard it'll be another 2 minutes before that is finished. What?
Just break it into pieces. It's fine. So I think it's the little fun bit where you rest your wrists.
Yeah.
It seems like either that broke or
he didn't have it on his new keyboard.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Just snap it off.
I was like, we have 2 minutes to go, and then we show him just like breaking the new keyboard. We're like, well, I guess it's gonna be a while,
maybe
guys.
3 minutes, maybe 3.
No, I think it'll be wrapped up pretty quick.
Yeah, that's the hope. And looking at sort of the expectations for this game, I think coming into it, a lot of people, we all expected Splyce to take the win. It's kind of played out the way that it was anticipated. I like what DFM did with a little bit of inventiveness with the Nocturne mid, but it hasn't paid off for them. Coming into their next games, they're playing up against Isurus Gaming, the LATAM super team now. The first year we've seen the Latin America North and South combined for Worlds. Do you think they can try the same thing against that team, or do you think they need to go back to more conventional DFM style?
I think DFM, and this is not a cop-out answer, it's just what I think, should do whatever they think they're best at.
Yeah.
I think we've seen time and time again when you have so many different regions clashing with so many different regions, like sure you can try to tailor your play style to specifically counter the person you're playing against, but you're much more likely to find success just playing your game because it's likely the other team doesn't have practice against it anyway, and you're not going to get enough practice countering their style to do it well enough to win. Thinking about the group more overall, though, you have Splyce was the Pool 1 team, Isurus was Pool 2, DFM was Pool 3, and we saw Spawn at the start of the day actually say he thinks Isurus will top the group. Yeah. So that's a team that I am very excited to see start playing because it is the North and South combined from LATAM, and we're going to see that really reach its full force for the first time ever because they had such an amazing summer split and have basically the best player in their role in jungle, mid, AD, and support in the whole region. So it's very much a super team we're going to be seeing from Isurus, which makes this group very, very difficult for DFM, even if DFM is a team that has shown some international legs lately.
I think some of the players on that Isurus Gaming, you've seen them around so often that you'll know their names, even if you don't know them as Isurus Gaming players. Like War Angelus is there, Xayah, the 11-time champion, the most decorated domestic player ever in any region. Like, to take anyone in the world, they haven't got as many titles as Xayah has, and he's never really had the chance to push past play-ins, knockouts on an international stage. And the hope is for Latin America and for this team that this is the year that they're able to really challenge.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Every single one of these teams is the best in their region or just completely dominated the region. Like, it wasn't even a question for some of them. And they're going to get very familiar with each other. So DFM and Splyce, right, they're going to play 2 games against the other 2. So both of these guys will play 2 games against Isurus and 2 games against each other.
We are back onto Summoner's Rift, and just to give a quick recap of where we are, 19 minutes in, it's almost a 10,000, we're about 8,000 gold lead here for Splyce. There's a Baron up in a minute's time, there's a Cloud Drake in a minute and a half, and looks like Splyce are going down towards bot. Realm Warp in, Evi trying to get away, still has the flash, but Xerxe's on the chase, flash away. Evi will burn his Summoner to keep his life.
Yeah, 1 minute, 30 seconds until Cloud Drake, 1 minute until Baron, that's the stuff next in the playbook for Splyce, and then the question will be, does DFM continue to try and find picks to close it out? Because honestly, at this point, they don't necessarily have much choice. And I think Splyce is going to... They just need to make sure they stay as grouped as possible so that the Nocturne ult can't end up getting picks. Or, hey, let's just go in.
Yeah, Norskeren goes in for the engage. Steel's going to pop the chrono break. That was a little bit ambitious, you have to feel. And meanwhile, on the backside of the fight, Humanoid is fleeing. Evi going in. No! The perfect position here for DFM! And they are sweeping Splyce! A double kill comes out. Chachi trying to go back in. Look at the damage coming back out from Xerxe. Kobbe on the front line. Now opens up and it turns around. But in a moment, for a moment there, Detonation FocusMe had hope. They had a glimpse back into this game, but Splyce ripped it out of their hands.
What a combo that was by Evi and the rest of DFM. But that also goes to show how it's pretty nice to have a Kobbe on your team, right? The guy who's just able to remain untouched when everyone else gets caught. And this ended up being not the best engage by Norskeren. He's going on to an Ekko who can not be CC locked for the duration of the ult, and then Humanoid was flanked, but no one knew because they were still under effects of the darkness from Nocturne. And then when they come out of it, oh crap, we're all against this wall, and there's a Evi Gnar, right? All these surprises, but that's the 8,500 gold lead kind of hitting them in the face as they're unable to clean up as the Kennen ult gets everyone low enough for Kobbe to clean up.
Oh, it was so close. Xerxe wasn't actually caught in the ultimate coming out from Evi either, because he was at the end of the Onslaught of Shadows, where you're unstoppable. We do just have another pause coming out. I'm sure we'll get this rectified as soon as possible. But yeah, there was a moment there where if Detonation FocusMe hadn't been 8,000 gold behind, if it was 2,000 or 3,000, they win that fight. They destroy that fight. You know, everyone from Splyce is locked up. And it was just great from Detonation FocusMe. I had so much hope for them for just a second.
And I think it's important to note that you shouldn't necessarily take too much from the results of these games, because there are things that happen. If we saw the highlights of kind of how we got to this point where there was a very close gank in the top lane where Evi missed his hop on Gnar by just like a pixel on Kennen. And if he lands that, then when he burns his slash, he doesn't die. And then
he doesn't smite the Grump, he dies.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe Evi wins lane after that point, and then maybe... Well, Xerxe smiting the Grump is like a good play, but then the rest of it is like DFM didn't have to continue that play.
True.
And they're these small things that have such large implications later. And luckily, we were back into the game.
Straight back on into it. Baron is up 20 minutes in. Gang is going to go there and ward. Splyce all coming back out of their base around the same time. Let's have a look at where we are in terms of items. Infinity Edge, Essence Reaver, and Rapid Fire Cannon on Kobbe. He's got no summoners now. There's an Infinity Edge on Yutapon alongside an Essence Reaver, but yet to get that third completed item. Chachi going to Spellbreaker up towards that top side. You can sometimes see it on the cannon, gets you that bit more movement speed, get into the back of the fight, and his main job is just AoE CC alongside a lot of magic damage, of course, coming out from the cannon. Expectations are now that Splyce set up towards this Baron, get vision control. You can see Xerxes down towards the bottom side getting a Cloud Drake, because really, Detonation FocusMe can't challenge. Make
sure they're collecting as many objectives bot side as possible before they fully set up around the Baron pit. And I mean, we basically saw the dream fight for DFM, but it still wasn't enough. The dream fight would be to actually kill Kobbe while you get your Gnar ult off, because if they don't do that with the 3 items, a full rapid fire cannon ahead of Yutapon on the other side, Kobbe's just going to shred him.
Definitely is. You can see Xerxe coming down here trying to protect his mid laners. Steel and Evi look to see if they can catch out Humanoid, who has pushed up. Evi has a teleport, so would be able to join a fight around Baron if it did start up. But for the moment, Splyce are willing just to get the lanes pushed in. Haven't really got too much deep vision. They've got kind of superficial surface level vision into the Detonation FocusMe jungle, but they want to get some of these pink wards or control wards cleared out if they can before they go towards that next major objective.
Yeah, easy to posture with the Hecarim while the ultimate is up. Really, any engage that DFM does has to be an all-in.
Okay, Humanoid's going to be able to walk away there. I thought Evi was going to catch him out. Yutapon and Gang were on their way. And as you say, yeah, DFM have to go all in. You have to just go hell for leather, try and find one fight that you can win. Maybe even bring Evi away from this lane, sacrifice the inhib, and say, okay, we'll just go for a full 5v4 if we can. Ceros, of course, has the ultimate still. If Humanoid oversteps...
Yeah, they're going to go for a kill and trade the Baron.
Paranoia coming in. Realm Warp is going to be feared, but he still manages to get in it just in time. Humanoid escapes, but here comes the TP. Humanoid low, has to go back to base, has the teleport to join the fight if they want to go for it. But for now, Splyce just accept the teleport. It's the only one on the side of DFM. It means no one will be able to match Humanoid in a side lane easily again.
Yeah, I think that was actually another fairly good play by DFM there. But another narrow miss, right? Like
That's 100 HP between winning that or not.
Yeah, they had the plan of getting the kill and then teleporting back to push Splyce off Baron because there are no Mountain Drakes on Splyce, and their Baron DPS is not that great. But again, huge gold deficit, and now Splyce back on the Baron.
No teleport, no flash, no quickness on the Rakan though, and Evi almost has the Mega Gnar hook coming out. Norskeren going to catch out Steel. Kobbe goes godlike. Once again, it feels like one of Gang's hooks may be baited in his jungler just a tad. Detonation FocusMe shouldn't be able to fight this now that the jungler is down. Splyce will secure a 23.5-minute Baron, a 10,000 going up to about 12,000 gold lead after they get this. And you have to think they should just be able to get towards these side lanes and start pushing it.
Yeah, and my boy Jungle Ekko is not having the greatest appearance on the world stage, although I do think we'll continue to see him more. But what keeps happening, both to Lyra's Ekko and now to Steel's Ekko, is they're getting CC locked or rooted, and that actually prevents you from casting the R on Ekko. So we do actually see Mercury treads by Steel here, which is a more defensive option, trying to at least allow him to more likely be able to press his R, but it just hasn't been working out.
And I wonder how much of that is like the scrim meta. You know that Ekko jungle is going to be good, so you're starting to plan, how do we deal with Ekko jungle? We can leave it open, we don't have to ban it then, and then maybe we pick, you know, a Hecarim for the knockback, for the fear, we pick a Kennen for the stun, we pick a Rakan to get the knock up as well. If you can lock him in place long enough, as you say, you can just take him out. Yeah,
and I also think it's the difference between playing a new champion in solo queue or scrims and playing it on stage at Worlds.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be that extra barrier before having full comfort on a champion, other than like something like Kobbe Xayah, who he's played on stage, this exact stage, dozens of times.
Here we go. Splyce looking down towards that bottom lane. Righteous Glory was popped there by Humanoid. Xerxe looking for an engage as well if he can find it, but the inhibitor tower's already fallen. Here goes Steel, jumping in. Norskeren answers back. Steel chunked out, manages to jump back with the chrono break. He'll survive for the moment, but Splyce is still very healthy and can just push in towards this bottom lane. There's a minion wave on its way. Minions in the mid lane as well that Xerxe's going to go and help out buff up with the Baron buff. But for the moment, Splyce will just try and take one inhibitor. Xerxe can come in from the side. Bot lane inhibitor down to about half HP. Splyce should get this one. Detonation FocusMe unable to find an engage to answer it. Norskeren going to jump across the wall here onto Vizicsacsi, and now Splyce rotate towards the mid lane. Second inhibitor tower there, target Evi. Whoa, Evi almost down. Humanoid bashing in, but Evi goes out. There's the Paranoid coming out. The slicing mouse one's going to connect onto Gang. The unstoppable also on towards the back line, and here comes the damage. Round warp in. It's only Kobbe, but he will steal away the kill from Steel. And now Yutapon is in an awful position. Double kill over to Splyce. They take 3. They take the second inhibitor, and they'll be looking for the Nexus.
Yep, still have another minute and 20 seconds on this Baron. They have the teleport on Chachi, who really actually wanted to get back to base so he could teleport on that minion, which ended up being killed. But they were all coming back in here and looking to take their first game at Worlds.
Yeah, still a minute left on the Baron buff. Should be pretty easy here for Splyce. They're going to strike first as they take the damage onto Evi. He almost falls on the fountain. Just give it to him. It's a double for Kobbe. The Nexus towers fall, and Splyce strike first in Group B.
And a beautiful first game from Kobbe. 11-0-5, 30 more CS than his opponent. So many clutch team fights where he dodged the enemy engage just right while still getting out maximum damage. That is basically the Splyce we expected to see coming out here, if not a little bit faster.
A lot faster than I was expecting, Jatt, I'll be honest.
I mean,
they ended the game before the 30-minute mark. What's going on?
To be fair, if you're like this really strong person and these other people just keep throwing themselves at you, I don't know if that's ever happened to you as a very strong person.
No one's throwing themselves at me, Jatt.
But you do, in like a combative sense. You're going to fight back, and it's just going to happen, right? So I think that's why this game was accelerated so quickly, because DFM just kept trying to force, and Splyce could do nothing but just swat him away. And
with 4 newcomers onto the world stage, they had a very strong Game 1 performance. You can see how much it means to them as well, as Chachi, Xerxe, and crew just high-five the crowd. Great performance all around by Splyce. I think Detonation FocusMe showed their hand a little bit. It didn't work out, but I do appreciate the experimentation that they went for with that Nocturne in the mid lane.
Yeah, and it's potentially the last we'll see of Nocturne mid,
Possibly.
but I don't think it has to be. I think the Nocturne was by no means the reason DFM ended up losing this game. I think they ended up getting outplayed in the side lanes before Ceros could end up making an impact on this pick, and I can absolutely see how he had mid lane priority on the Ryze. That's really all you need from a mid laner is mid lane priority and the ability to attack a side lane. He could have done that, so we might see it again.
It was